Prateep, and Prateep Basu is, I think most of you would be knowing about him. He is the founder of Satsure, and a company which actually tried to bring all the data from the space to the seeds and the soil for our farmers. So Prateep would be talking of something very, very interesting today, and that would be basically the era of machines and how AI is cool. Artificial intelligence, we all talk about, we all hear about. A lot of things, a lot of people think it is just a jargon for the farmers, but I, who himself has been active in AI domain, would say it's just not science fiction. It is something which is now a fact. So after you, Prateep, and please rock, go ahead. Thank you. Prateep, are you there?
Yeah, I think I had to be unmuted by the host.
I can hear you now. I can see you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Deepak. And also, this has been a great panel discussion till now. So I'll take the opportunity to delve into something which is seldom spoken about or even discussed amongst in the agriculture community, which is how do you contextualize AI for agriculture and agtechs? So we are not just speaking about farmers here, we are also speaking about agtechs who are serving the farmers. So the entire digital ecosystem around farmers is a combination of their government support, corporates, like agribusinesses and agtechs. So just a quick intro about Satsure. We started the company 3.5 years back and based out of Bangalore with a small team of 34 people. In this presentation, I would focus on two things: on how design is one of the most important factors in connecting the technology to the user, and the second part is the need and the case for open innovation in agriculture, specific to India. So the first and foremost, we have heard about the current state of the market many times, but it's good to keep this in number that we have more than 400 active agtech startups in India today, which is one of the largest agtech startup ecosystems in the world, not just in the region. And a huge number of our population is currently dependent on farming for a living. So in this particular context, let me put together the problems of agtech community. So we have a lot of organizations and startups who are working in silos today. We have very limited co-innovation opportunities. There is not, which leads to the expertise being in certain directions, agronomy, data science, weather, satellite remote sensing, but then it doesn't come together properly. And then you have absence of any universal platforms to collaborate because it's a competitive market. So everyone wants to profit from their competencies. And at the end of the day, it's also, there is a lot of issues around the reliability of the data, whether it is data collected from the field or the data output provided from any kind of sensor or satellite remote sensing information itself, because these are subject to interpretation, subject to the human touch around it, and these kind of integrity issues on the data leads to problems in making decisions, because these decisions which you make are actually going to impact someone's life. So the question that arises is, what can AI do for agriculture and agtech community? So let's look at the different value propositions which we all have heard many times, many webinars. So questions like when to sow, how much to sow, how much can I loan a farmer, that's for the bank, how much, when should I stock pesticides, when is the right time to apply, should we apply at all, how much yield will I get, what could be the income there, what is the price forecast for the next 1 month, when do I harvest? That kind of questions are very individualistic questions, but there are also organization level questions like where do you expand your markets to, where do you establish new outlets for lending, for distributing seeds, how do you find new customers, how do you create stickiness to your customers, the experience part of it, right? Even issues around the insurance, how much damage of the crop has happened, how much should be the payout. So all of these questions, when you put together, they are very broad, they require different kinds of mindset, they may require an integration of data to actually create an insight. And if it's possible to do that on a singular platform, then the impact of it is increasing the capacity of on decision making, increasing the efficiency, the business process efficiency of organizations as well as of individuals, helping people increase their revenues, and at the end of the day, you also improve the quality of the data ecosystem, which translates to quality of the decisions that you are taking and the impact it has. So today, just at SatSure, without even collaborating with any partners, just using our expertise, we are able to generate up to farm level insights, being able to say what is growing at a farm level, what's the health, moisture, performance, harvest, sowing, yield. All of these things are today possible, but how can farmers benefit for it? Who will pay for it? How do you make services out of this kind of thing? Because a company like SatSure, which is a B2B and B2G company, we don't have the kind of bandwidth to go and acquire customers. Neither we are having the bandwidth to develop the entire gamut of services which is required today in the agriculture sector. And this is where the role of Agtech comes. So Agtech, which is diverse, it comes from so many things. We have heard Om speak about the work on traceability. We have a lot of companies on working on e-commerce models, market linkages, and that is where a ray of hope comes. But how do you empower Agtechs to enhance the value of agriculture in India? The main issues that needs to be solved is, number one, coming together to collaborate, having a platform where agri experts, IT experts, remote sensing experts, coders, etc., they can come together and create a knowledge sharing community. Because as Sanjeev sir also mentioned in the previous presentation, you have a lot of variations as per the seed farm management practices, the kind of variety of seed you have used, irrigated, non-irrigated, terrain, agroclimatic zones, so many things, right? And and also language at the end of the day, because someone has to inform the farmers or the field staff there what kind of decisions to be taken. So the entire thing is, how do you combine this knowledge from the community, and combine that with AI to actually create insights. So insights which can come from flying drones, getting data, acquiring data through mobile applications, acquiring data from space, weather stations, having the layers of land records, even scraping through news items, media news, social media, etc. You have a lot of information overload today, and that is where you need to apply AI. A lot of companies today are speaking of satellites and AI, creating indices and telling what is the health of the crop. That's not AI. That's been existing since 1979. But the actual usage of AI is when you have a business layer, a requirement of the business, and a technology layer when you have the data to be combined to create a decision layer. And what kind of decisions? Like reaching the right place at the right time with the right plans, and essentially having questions around both the diagnostics, the history, and the future. So to enable this kind of an ecosystem, we have everything in place. We have large companies today who have invested a lot on their technology, on their supply chains. We have a lot of agtech companies, but what we are lacking today are two things. One is an open innovation ecosystem for agriculture, and the second part is design. So I'll take one by one. We'll start with design. So who are we designing our products for? What is we have, let's say, IoT devices, we have drones, but just the analysis of that information cannot be delivered to a person. It will change whether it's a farmer who is using it, whether it's a field staff of an agribusiness or a bank or an insurance company. There's senior management, it's a food processing company. So all the different kinds of users exist across the value chain. Now, I won't name any apps or dashboards here, but the biggest problem is usability. For a farmer, they don't understand most of the times how to use an app, because number one, they have to, most of the apps have too much unwanted information, excessive use of colors, banners everywhere, advertisements, no proper user workflow in the page, and there is basically no user research that has gone into it. But the information is rich, information is superb there. So that is actually a complete waste of the time of both the user and the developer. So it's very important to focus on the user research across agriculture when we are speaking of technology, when we are speaking of technology products that are being developed to service farmers and agribusinesses. And the best practice, I'm not a design guy, but the best practice usually has been, and what we have followed at SatSure, is you observe, analyze, you derive and categorize the different sets of information. So technically you empathize with your user after identification, and it basically helps you to create something where the adoption happens, because when you connect design and technology, then only adoption starts happening. So for example, not using too many colors, not having a lot of white space, providing minimal information display specific to user type. Like a farmer of Uttar Pradesh may see the app in a different manner than a let's say a small farmer in Uttar Pradesh may see it differently than a large farmer in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Similarly, a banker may see this information differently than a crop insurer, because what they want to see, what kind of decisions they have to make, it needs complete understanding of that business process and the workflow. The second aspect I spoke about was innovation, open innovation. Now let's understand what is open and closed innovation. So technically, closed innovation is where a company generates, develops and commercializes its own ideas, and it restricts the scope of ecosystem innovation. However, open innovation is where you have exchange of internal and external expertise, ideas, innovations. And one of the biggest company which promotes open innovation is Google. If you look at today, all your mobile applications delivering food to you, or taking you for a cab sharing ride, it's all built on map-based interface. So these map APIs are provided by the likes of Google, Air Maps, etc. Right, and a lot of these APIs would be all like openly available. Similarly, weather data globally from satellites is available openly. It may not have the accuracy at a particular point, just like a physical weather station, but if you look at the density of the weather station grids, for example, that's just abysmal. Just in India, it's abysmal. I think SkyMet has done a great job on that. So then that kind of open weather data from satellite becomes very important to integrate into your system, because it plays a very important role in advising farmers. So there is a wide scope of innovation, and the one good thing about open innovation is that there is very porous boundaries between who is a buyer and who is a seller. So we at SatSure have taken an open innovation approach in parallel to what we do in enabling, providing technology for enabling financial inclusion. So our core set of clients would banks, insurance companies, governments, but we understand the power of data, and we also understand the power of shared intellectual capacity. So if we have to actually make AI actionable, the first thing is it needs trustworthy data. No one company can reliably collect that much amount of trustworthy data to have 99.99% accurate predictions using AI. So you need an ecosystem of companies who are contributing to a data pool, single data pool. You need frameworks, open frameworks, to make sense of that data pool. Obviously, there has to be a business model also around it at the end of the day, and that is something which I let the moderator discuss after this. And obviously, at the end of the day, it's a complete ecosystem development approach that needs to be taken for AI to actually succeed and unlocks its utility for the bottom of the pyramid. So one of the examples of open data was when we sometimes do volunteering work, like during Kerala floods. We opened up the inundation extent, depth, social media metrics on an open platform. Similarly, during COVID response, the early first couple of weeks, there was a lot of there was a lot of chaos everywhere, and it was just a sad human crisis, especially for farmers. You have crops which are standing on the field, bumper crop, but no labor, no transportation, and some of the biggest challenges were a lot of agencies didn't know whether they should keep open their warehouses, cold storages, what is essential, what is non-essential. So one of the things we did was we maintain a lot of databases. Now, if you look at NABARD and NCDX, etc., they have opened up the entire agriculture infrastructure addresses. So we simply geocoded the addresses along with the contact numbers and kept it open on a platform, and that actually helped people connect people, because most of us just know about our neighborhood ecosystem. We don't know what who are the other people operating maybe slightly farther away from us. So this exercise also gave us the impetus that in a post-COVID world, when we are innovating, we should do it together. And just to end, this was my brief on the design and innovation aspect of making AI successful for farmers and agriculture business. So we, as a company, we do quite a lot of things in agriculture and beyond agriculture, and we have to date enabled more than 2 million farmer loans, about almost 400,000 farm insurance claim settlement, and have been recognized by several reputed agencies, starting from Government of India, World Economic Forum, MIT, ADB, etc. As a team, I mentioned earlier, we are a very small and young team, with a mix of expertise, diverse set of guys, agronomists, remote sensing, data science, IT, financial technology, and I'm the CEO and founder of Statshare, with a background in space technology. I used to work in ISRO before as a scientist, and then something happened and I gave up the job, a nice scale one officer job, to start my own company. So that's about it from me. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'll let the floor open for questions.